The house stood alone at the edge of town. Its windows were always shut, even in summer. Words landed on the fence. No leaves gathered near the porch. The wind seemed to go around it, like it was avoiding something it couldn't name. It had stood empty for years, not abandoned, maintained just enough to appear normal. The grass was cut, the mail slot empty, but no one stayed. Tenants came and left quickly. No for sale signs, no complaints, just silence. Ethan wasn't like the others. He didn't care for local rumors or neighborhood stares. He wanted solitude. He'd lived in cities too long, heard too many people, breathing in elevators, phones buzzing, buses groaning. He wanted quiet, and quiet is what he got. At first thought the house welcomed him with stillness, thick air, floorboards that whispered underfoot, the kind of silence that made him feel noticed, but not watched. It was a relief. For a time, there were 4 rooms upstairs. 3 opened easily, the 4th did not. At the end of the narrow hallway, a white wooden door stood slightly crooked in its frame. The knob turned, but the door resisted, not locked, just unwilling. He gave up after a few tries and moved on, telling himself it didn't matter. He didn't need the space, but the door began to matter. He started to notice small changes. Items not quite where he left them. Footsteps when he was still. The faint sound of a creak from upstairs when he sat alone in the kitchen at night. The hallway light would flicker. Only the hallway, and always near that door. By the 2nd week, Ethan began to hear breathing, not his own. It came from the walls, from beneath the stairs, from behind that door. He told himself it was the house, settling. Old houses made sounds. They remembered people in strange ways. But even he didn't believe it. One night, after waking from a dreamless sleep, he walked the hallway barefoot. The door was open, just slightly, wide enough to let out the cold. He stood before it, heart silent, skin prickling. Inside there was no furniture, no windows, no light, just a chair, wooden, cracked, facing the corner. He didn't enter. He closed the door gently and returned to bed, but something had changed. The silence was now tense, waiting, like the house had inhaled and was holding its breath. The next night, the chair was facing the door. Ethan didn't see it move. He only noticed when the door stood open again, wider than before, and the cold brushed his chest. He tried to laugh, but it came out dry. He closed the door with more force this time. It didn't help. The 3rd night, he locked his bedroom door. He didn't remember having a lock there before, but the knob clicked satisfyingly, and he slept. For an hour, he woke to the sound of scratching, not on his door, inside it. He turned on every light in the house that morning, walked room to room. The 4th door was closed again, as if nothing had happened. The chair nowhere to be seen, but it returned that night, this time in the hallway. Ethan stood at the top of the stairs, unable to breathe. The chair sat near his bedroom, turned away, waiting. He walked past it, refusing to look, went into his room, shut the door, locked it, and waited. At 3:12 a.m. the chair creaked. He didn't move, not even when he heard something sit down. The house grew colder. He couldn't recall falling asleep. But when morning came, the chair was gone. The next day, he searched online, searched city records. The house had no tragic history, no deaths, no disappearances, no stories. But he did find something strange. Every resident left within 27 days. No explanation, just gone. Sometimes in the middle of the night, one left all his things. Another broke their lease after reporting nothing wrong. Ethan was on day 20. The hallway grew longer after that, the lights dimmer. He tried replacing bulbs, but they flickered anyway. He started talking out loud just to fill the air. Sometimes something replied, not in words, not directly, just answers. A breath when he asked a question, a thump when he laughed. The door at the end stayed shut, but the chair appeared more often. Once in the bathroom, once in the kitchen, always facing away, always alone, until one night, he touched it. The wood was wet, cold like stone. When he tried to move it, it wouldn't budge, as if nailed to something deeper than the floor. That night, he heard the voice clearly. Get out. It didn't sound angry or cruel. It sounded tired. But he didn't leave. On the 26th night, he stood before the door again. The knob turned easily. The door opened wide. Inside, the chair was gone, but the room was not empty. There was a mirror, cracked, hanging, crooked. And in it, he saw himself standing there, except the reflection reflection was still smiling after he stopped, he backed away slowly. The hallway behind him had changed, longer, darker, no doors, only shadows. The door slammed shut behind him. The light bulbs shattered in a wave from one end of the hall to the other. Then silence. The next morning, the house was empty. Again. No Ethan, no chair, no mirror, just a white door, slightly ajar. Breathing. Now, if you visit the house and walk quietly enough, you might hear the floorboards creak on their own. You might hear a voice just behind your thoughts whispering your name. And if you're very unlucky, the door will open for you, but it never opens twice.